Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So, I want to talk about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors a little bit. I haven't watched a whole lot of them, but I do kind of follow from afar what they're doing, and they're losing a lot, just like they did last year. They had real high hopes that, Klay Thompson would be back. He got hurt with a very serious injury and is going to miss the entire season, as you all know. As a knee-jerk reaction to that, they were able to sign free agent Kelly Oubre Jr., who had a fantastic breakout year with the Phoenix Suns, who's gotten progressively better every year for the most part. He played for the Wizards to start his career, wasn't really able to define stardom for himself as a Wizard, but he really broke out with the Suns and looked like something like an all-star for them. So you have high hopes that he goes into Golden State and really does well, but no training camp. Being away from the game for quite a while, because even though the Suns played in the bubble, they were out early. They didn't make the playoffs. And then transitioning to a Golden State Warrior team where there's much more pressure because you're taking Klay's spot, essentially, the best shooter in the game, not named Steph Curry. You're also stepping into a winning culture, even though they're coming off a bad season for themselves. And, of course, you were, like I said, breaking out last year. So the expectations are that you'll continue that play going into Golden State. And, to start the season, it's been a disaster for Kelly, particularly. It's just been a complete and utter disaster. He's shooting 4% from three-point line. He's hit one so far through the season. I think they've played maybe 4 or 5 games. And he's attempting, a healthy amount. The thing about the Golden State Warriors is that they have a offense that they've run for many years now. It's not exactly the easiest offense to learn, but once you get it, obviously it's effective. Sort of like triangle offense in that regard. And Kelly's going to have to learn that with no preseason, no training camp. So no summer league. Like, it's a lot of stuff that we take for granted as basketball fans, and I'm sure the players to a degree as well, that come with every offseason, because every offseason is the same except for this one. So as to where he probably knocks off these kinks of his shooting game, by the time he gets to the regular season, probably all of this is gone. He's learned the offense. He knows his role. They settle into rotations a little better, things of that nature. All of that you're being thrust into right now. And I think the Golden State Warriors are suffering quite a bit because of that, as are other teams. You're seeing more blowouts and things of that nature to start the season, just simply because guys are rusty. Teams are trying to learn on the fly. A lot of guys are coming to new situations like Kelly, and it's not really a winning atmosphere to break routine to this degree, rush the offseason to this degree, and then toss players out into meaningful basketball play with a condensed season. So now it's even more meaningful that you play well possession to possession to possession. The NBA just rushed this out of sheer greed. And they're suffering because of it. We got all-star players like Karl Towns and Ja Morant going down with big boy injuries. Guys like Kevin Love and several others who had just gone down with injuries. And it's like, look, all of this probably could happen if they would have had a regular offseason or extended it a little, at least waited till maybe this week to start the NBA season. You still could have had the Christmas Day games. They just would be preseason games. But the NBA didn't want to do that because of greed. That's how I equate it anyway. So the players get to suffer. And it's just very unfortunate. I look at a guy like Kelly Oubre Jr. and I say, yeah, we can look at him and say, you're struggling, all this. But if you listen to how I just broke it down to you, you can see why a guy would struggle. You can see why all of that makes a perfect storm for bad play. Now, does he have to get it together? Yes. Is there some things that he probably needs to do to snap out of this funk? All players, shooters got to shoot. I ain't gonna say he's a shooter, but a guy who can hit shots just has to shoot. And Kelly Oubre is a guy who can hit shots. He's just in the worst slump of his career. And is it unprecedented? Yes. Do I think it continues? No. But I've seen slumps like this extend for long periods of time. I remember a guy by the name of Rodney Stuckey who had a start to the season like this about 7 years ago. It wasn't recent, but he came out, he couldn't hit a shot, just could not hit a shot. It was really, really scary how bad it had gotten. So I've seen this before. Rodney came around, he played better, years later. I mean, he didn't stay at that level, but boy, did it last. And almost half a season, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully it doesn't happen for Kelly Oubre. Hopefully the Golden State Warriors can start to get healthier. Obviously, they've gotten Draymond Green. It's been out for a little bit. They got him back. We'll see what he has to give this team. But this is a team with high expectations and really not a whole lot working for themselves. Now, Eric Paschall is a guy I like a lot, but he's not starting the season very strong, unfortunately, as well. They just have a lot of non-shooters on this basketball team, which is completely ironic because they are obviously a shooting team. But when you have the best shooters in the league, you tend to probably look around and say what else can complement what we already have, as opposed to doubling down and tripling down on our already superior strength. So the Golden State Warriors went and got defense, they got rebounders, they got bigs, they got all these different things to complement the best shooters, and then the best shooters go down. And now they have no shooting other than Steph Curry, who I respect as a superstar. But one thing that he is not able to do, because he's not a defensive player and he's not a big man, he's not able to really affect winning in ways that you would hope he would be able to at that level of greatness. Guys like LeBron James and even James Harden, who has a bigger body, can push people around, are going to affect wins. If they are lacking, guy like, rest in peace to my great legend Kobe Bryant. If guys around him were lacking, he could do it by himself. Steph Curry doesn't have that in him. He could shoot better than all humans, but he needs everybody else to do what it is that they do in order for him to succeed, winning games. He's a slight guy. He's a small person. So just like with Chris Paul, we don't really blame Chris Paul for why he doesn't have championship rings, because he needed the Blake Griffins, the David Wesses, et cetera, to play so great so that what he does for them can get them there. But he needs help getting there. And I see the same with Steph Curry. Steph had a perfect situation. The Myers guy, I think his name is Rob, I'm not certain, but Myers, their GM and president, and the culture that they've set in Oakland, San Francisco, is that of which made it so that Steph Curry looked like he was unstoppable, and he was. He was hitting shots that we had never seen before. He was hitting them at a clip and at an efficiency level that was unprecedented. But he would hide him on defense. Draymond would be the facilitator to make sure the offense moved. Klay Thompson would be the secondary scorer and main defensive player that would lock down the other team's best player. So Steph Curry wasn't responsible for any of these things. The only thing Steph was really responsible for was scoring the basketball and making sure that he did his part in facilitating the basketball. But that was really Draymond's job, even in and of itself. Any assist that Steph gave you was just icing on the cake, so to speak. And that's why a guy like KD, as soon as he got to Golden State, was defined as the very best player on the team. Because as a bigger body with extreme length and extreme talent, he was able to affect things more so than being reliant upon others to do it for him. And, that's what it really came down to. When KD left that team, so went their championship hopes. And some would say, well, they won it without him. Yes. Why? Because they were the deepest team in all of basketball when doing so. Steph Curry had the deepest team in all of basketball when they won 73 games and lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The team was deeper than everybody else. They had so many different role players and players off their bench that they could come in and do their job, that it just worked as a cohesive unit. I said all of that to say, I think the Golden State Warriors should consider giving Steph Curry the option of moving on. Now, if Steph Curry denies that option, he's earned that. He can Kobe Dirk the situation, and everybody will love him forever. It's not like he has to chase rings. He has them. But going forward, do I expect the Golden State Warriors to return back to championship glory? I do not. I emphatically don't at this point. I love Wiseman, so they have a future. But his timeline is no longer aligned with the timeline of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond. I don't know how Klay is coming back from his injury. He's had several of them now. And this one was pretty bad. This was an Achilles. We know how that goes. Now, KD looks great coming back from the Achilles, but we also know KD has had more than a year, almost 2 years, to recover from that. So his situation is unique. Plus, he's better than everyone. So his game is not predicated on him getting off the floor and pushing people around. He can just do whatever he wants because his ability to score is better than all humans, basically. So when you consider that, he's going to come back better than the average person. Not to say Clay is average, because he's not, but he's probably going to be somebody that you can count on to come back looking more like himself than maybe a guy like Clay, who's a little more of a human in that regard, a little more of a mere mortal in that regard, in my opinion. So hopefully Clay comes back strong, proves me wrong, comes back the same Clay, but I'm not expecting anyone to come back from an Achilles injury and be the same. No one. That's just me. But I'm pleasantly surprised when it happens, and it has taken place before. We've seen it with Wesley Matthews. He looks pretty much like his old self. Not as much explosiveness, but he's been able to keep his career going after that injury. So it doesn't take you all the way off the floor, and it doesn't render you all the way obsolete. However, will Clay be able to guard the best players anymore? Clay was not an athletic guy to begin with. He never was the guy to get off the floor crazy. He was never the guy that ran faster than everybody else. He was just extremely sound and shot better than everyone else. But he was never the most athletic, jumpy, bouncy kind of guy. So the adjustment may not be as much, but the little athleticism that he had, quote unquote, little, saying that with respect, is probably going to decrease even more. So who does he come back as? I don't know. I'm certain he can still shoot threes. I'm certain he'll be able to shoot until he leaves the earth. But whether or not he'll be able to defend and move like Clay to be able to move after these injuries, I would bet on him not, to be honest with you. And that doesn't bode well for the Golden State Warriors. Draymond. Look, man, Draymond was never the guy that you're going to go to for scoring. And he's a bigger guy, and he's never been the most athletic or the most healthy body ever. He's not. He's not a workout warrior. We know that. I'm not saying he doesn't put in the work. I'm just saying that it hasn't translated to him turning it out looking like Giannis, okay? Let's just be honest. Now, if he did have that type of body makeup, then this would be a different conversation. But being that he's more of a mere mortal once again, I'm not counting on him being a difference maker for the Golden State Warriors going forward. They would be wise to consider trading him for the betterment of the team. I believe that. I've believed that for a couple years now. I still think that he has a future in the league because he's so smart. So he's so smart, he can pull a Rondo. Like, he could come to the Lakers and help us. Like, honestly. Because he can come here, be a bench guy, facilitate, take some pressure off LeBron James, be another big body and 6 fouls for any bigs that we have to deal with, and his facilitating ability is it's special. The Clippers should go after Draymond because they don't have a point guard. You need somebody to facilitate. And it really doesn't matter that guys don't play the point guard or not, so long as they pass first. We see the best passer in the game right now, not named LeBron James, is Nikola Jokic. And quite honestly, neither he nor LeBron James are point guards, but they still facilitate the basketball, and that's all that matters. We don't have to be in this mindset that the point guard has to dish it. No, someone has to dish it. That's all. And Draymond can be that guy. That's not necessarily what Golden State needs. They need more of a scoring punch. They need more of defensive players. They need more shooting. Draymond is none of those things at this stage in his career. So with him having such a prominent role on their team, making the money that he's making, you're not going to get better that way. You can't. I'm going to go as far as to say you can't win that way anymore. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong. Been wrong before. But as far as I can tell, if Draymond is your third best player in this particular situation, you're not winning nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, if the Golden State Warriors don't get out of this, oh my God, I love our guys, we've won so much, let's build this team with our hearts bullcrap, they're going to continue to suck, and they're going to go back into the cellar where they came from. And that's just the reality of it. I understand that. Look, I've been there. Okay, I've been there, and I don't have any regrets. The Lakers did not trade Kobe to get better. We paid Kobe all the money in the world, and our team sucked. And it hurt us in terms of our team being any good. But we kept Kobe. We loved him. We did it with our hearts, and there's no regrets there. But that is what you give up when you stick with the old guys who've won for you instead of building your team to get better. And being that they're in a new stadium in San Francisco, with a not new fan base, but asking new people to come to their arena when the country opens back up, it would be wise for them to have the right type of talent on the floor. Plus, if you're not going to trade Wiseman, which I've heard people saying that they may, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Just depends on what you want to do with your timeline. But if you are going to trade Wiseman, you're probably not going to get as much of a haul for him as you would if you keep him for a couple of years. But if you decide not to trade Wiseman, how do you convince him to want to stay if you're continuing to do the legacy Kobe Dirk act with these three players? How can you ever reach the timeline that fits him? Now, Steph is the one guy, he's healthy, he's Steph. So you can probably get away with keeping him. And Clay, it's going to be hard. And I know this sounds absolutely insane, but I think it's going to be a little difficult to trade Clay because he just signed his contract and he is coming off the Achilles. But I don't know. I don't even know if I can convince myself that a team ain't going to go after Clay and give a haul for him now. They may. But the point is, it would be a hell of a lot easier if you weren't hurt. And at this point, even if you weren't hurt, you wouldn't want to trade him. But it's the gist of what I'm saying is basically what I already said. The Golden State Warriors are going to have a tough time getting better. Either you're going to be stuck in the cellar, continuing to love these guys that have helped you win, or you got to blow this thing up in order to get better and set yourself a new timeline that fits Wiseman. And at this point, it doesn't seem like they're ready to make a decision in either direction. Both things don't appear to be able to exist at the same time. I heard some people say that maybe they should get involved in the James Harden conversation. What are you going to do? Give up Steph Curry to get James Harden? That's a lateral move. It's a lateral move. I'm sorry, it's not going to get you any better. You're not going to be any better that way. James Harden is a one-man band. Golden State have their own culture. It's just a step in the wrong direction. His timeline doesn't fit Wiseman either. It's just, that's not the move. But I do think that the Golden State Warriors need to commit to something because what it is that they're committing to now is losing. So that's where I'm at with that. They got some players I like. Jordan Poole's a young player I like. I can't think of his name, please forgive me. But Steph Curry's brother-in-law, he's another player I like. So they got guys on that team, and that young team. Unfortunately, Marquise Chris went down. He's really starting to come into his own. That's a really unfortunate injury for him. But they got some guys who, if you take them off of this team and place them in a good situation, those are good players. It's not like they have a collection of bad players. They just don't have a collection of players that can get the most out of themselves based on the system that they run, the offense that they run, and ultimately the injuries that they've taken on. So the Golden State Warriors are a really intriguing team as it pertains to they have pieces to trade to get better. They have pieces to trade to get younger. The question is will they be willing to do so based on their heart? So that's what I got to say. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, that's what I got. Video 44. Peace.